Hey, welcome back to Might Be You Monday. This is the second time I'm going live drawing a portrait this year. And I have my drawing picked out, and this time I have figured out how to stream with two cameras so that you can see me while you're also seeing what I draw. But I'm a little nervous because technology sometimes can be a little extra to figure out. So if you're watching and you notice that you can't hear me or something's not looking right, please let me know in the comments. I'm also using a third-party app for this that I have never tried with YouTube before. So I am just hoping that this all works. But today is January 13th, 2025. And if you are new to Might Be You Monday, here's how it works. Every Monday, I live stream myself drawing a portrait that one of you has submitted to me. If you would like me to draw you or somebody that you love, you can send me your picture by going to erinreinholtz.com and filling out my subscribe form, or you can hit that QR code up there and it will take you right to the form. You can also just send me a message or drop a comment on this video letting me know that you have a picture you want me to draw. Anyways, as I draw it, if you notice that it is the picture that you sent me, just leave a comment saying so, and I will give you the finished artwork for free. So thanks for watching. Let's get started. Today's portrait, I am going to try drawing in a reductive way. Last time I started drawing right on the white paper, but today I'm going to actually tone my paper to a darker gray, and I'm going to use my eraser to help me draw. So this is just one of my favorite ways to start a drawing. Smear it around a bit. This is just a stick of charcoal that I'm using. You could do this with graphite as well, but I am a fan of charcoal. And I just want to get a little bit more on there before I get started. So my goal with these portraits is to try to complete them within a half hour. Last times went about 45 minutes. Every once in a while, when I would do this in the past, it would go a little long. And so I would finish where I was and I'd complete the drawing and show you guys later. But most of the time, I feel confident I'm able to complete the whole portrait live. So we're going to get started. So some tools that I have here are, other than the charcoal, I've got a kneaded eraser. I have this tiny little skinny eraser. Oh, hey, Jess, thank you. Also, I'm glad to see that it's working. So thanks for being here. That reminds me, sometimes I have trouble reading and paying attention to the comments while I'm drawing, but I'm trying my best. So do comment and keep me company. Otherwise, I'm sitting here basically just talking to myself. But that's fine too. So the kneaded eraser is a tool that I like because it's really good at erasing charcoal and graphite, and to clean it, you just squish and squash it like this. And then my main method of drawing today is going to be with an ebony pencil, and I just have two in case I drop one on the floor and it breaks, because I would not be surprised if that happens to me during a live one of these days. I also have this sharpener, which is my favorite that I shared last time. It's by Staedtler, and it gets pencils super sharp, super fast. So now, now that I've toned the paper, I'm actually going to start out by drawing with my eraser just to get the basic shapes in. So I'm using this Prismacolor White Magic Rub eraser, and I'm going to just start by getting the shape and the size of the face laid out on the paper before I commit to any more permanent marks. And this helps me make sure that my composition is right, that everything's going to fit that needs to fit, and that I have everything aligned properly. So when I selected this photo, I had received a couple really great photos, and I'm picking just one every Monday, and it's mostly just based on whatever is calling to me. It's pretty instinctive. Every once in a while, I will ask my kids if they can help me choose one if I'm really stuck trying to decide what to draw. or which picture to choose. But this one called out to me, and I had a little laugh because last week I drew Emma Watson, and she was um, posed with her mouth shut. So I was drawing her lips, and I made the comment to you guys that teeth are a real big challenge. And so with her lips being shut, I did not have to face that challenge live. But this drawing today has teeth, so you'll get to see me with the challenge of teeth. And every time I think about that now, I think about a class I had with some students where we talked about how everybody really hates drawing teeth and how difficult they are. And so here's a little shout out to my students if any of you guys are watching. Cheers. Cheers to the challenge of drawing teeth. But this person has a lovely radiant smile and is smiling with teeth, and that's one of the things that really spoke to me about the image. And also, this person is um, in the act of doing something that she is extremely passionate about, and that really spoke to me as well. I was just talking to one of my kids last night. We had one of those like Sunday have to go back to school tomorrow kind of moments, little conversation about spending so much time in school and other kids not paying attention or needing to be redirected frequently. And just my kid was just like feeling frustrated thinking about all of the things that could be going on and all the time that was seemingly wasted in the day. And I just really remember being a kid with that Sunday night kind of doom feeling, even though I actually really liked school and I always enjoyed seeing my friends and for the most part my teachers. Um, there's just something about that feeling of not having full control over what you get to do in your day. And it made me think about freedom and it made me think about what other things my kiddo might choose to be doing with the time. But it was just an interesting thing. And so in this image, this young lady is doing some awesome things with her time. She is currently also a student and um and despite that she's also doing some really cool things and I think it just goes to show like how awesome our young people are, all the things that they're juggling. It's like all the things that we juggled at one point, and they're also dealing with the spotlight of cell phones and technology and social media on top of it. And so just the fact that I am aware of what this young lady is doing is in part thanks to social media, and she seems proud to be recognized, and it's just one of those things I think about too. And so I'm just so impressed by our young people and all the things that they are accomplishing and balancing, and when they go after their passions and still are studying hard in school, doing their best and learning new instruments and new skills and being good members of their family and just showing up each day. So, cheers to you if you are a young person watching this video. Sometimes it can feel like you have no place in the world, and I just want to tell you that's absolutely not true. There is a big spot for you in our world, and you matter, and you make a big difference. So, keep doing what you're doing and keep showing up. Okay, so in the drawing, you can see that I'm using this eraser to pull in some of the highlights, and that's gonna help me start to create the shapes of her face. And it's basically like I am literally just drawing with the eraser rather than pencil. And that's exactly what it's doing. And as I go along and pull in more and more of the highlights, I plan to return with actual pencil to bring back some more line and clarity in the darker areas again. And so now I'm getting to the part where I'm starting to approach the mouth and the teeth I was discussing earlier, but I'm not quite there yet. So we'll just keep progressing. Anyways, back to these kiddos. So I was thinking about the adventurous spirit of some of my children and of myself and all of the things. It just made me reminisce a bit about the days when I was a student. And I was thinking, I was talking to two friends earlier today who I was roommates with in college. And just, I'm so grateful that we have stayed in touch and have such a good relationship after all these years. We met in college and we lived together with some other people as well. But one of these friends of mine, she was born and spent most of her early life in Germany. And then her family moved to the United States when I believe when she was in high school, I want to say. Anyways, so I met her in college, and then our other roommate and her were friends as well. And she had to go back to Germany. And so the other roommate and I decided we were going to fly out there and visit her one summer while we were on summer break. And we had just the most adventurous trip. It was one of those things that I will always remember, one of those experiences. I remember we booked our flights on Priceline. So we were poor college students trying to afford whatever we could. And it was just the two of us, my friend Debbie and I, flying out to visit our friend Martina. And we had a wonderful time. But if you don't know me very well, one thing that you should know is that I love accents, especially a good British accent or Australian accent. And we had a layover at Heathrow Airport in London. And for whatever reason, I decided I was going to talk to my friend on the plane in my accent. And after a while, it felt like I couldn't stop talking in it. And so it turned out that I maintained my accent for a straight 2 weeks, which was the longest that I had ever continuously talked in an accent for. And then when I got back home and I wanted to stop, because I especially wanted to stop while we were in London because I didn't want people to think I was mocking them, right? I figured they could probably smell a fake in my accent. I mean, I'm pretty good, but I wasn't sure if I could fool a native. But it was so hard to stop talking in the accent, and it took me until I was back here in the US for several weeks before I finally returned to speaking in my actual normal voice. Um, but that was pretty entertaining. And while we were there, we were on our way home from Germany, and we had a 2-hour layover at Heathrow. And we decided it was enough time that we wanted to do something. We wanted to see at least one thing while we were in London because we didn't have enough time to actually visit London. But we were overseas, out of the country. We wanted to do something, right? So we decided we would ask the airport staff like where we could go within this time frame and still make it back for our flight back to the United States. And so we talked to this man, and he said, take the tube. And he said, take the tube and get off at Hammersmith. And we said, Hammersmith. Okay, Hammersmith. Where's Hammersmith? I don't see that on the map here. And he's like, no, no, Hammersmith. Emma, bang, bang. And we're like, oh, Hammersmith. Yes, 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 Hammersmith. There it is. Okay. So we're all excited. We're going to take the tube. So we need to exchange our euros for pounds. So we're calculating how many you have to prepay. I don't know if it's still that way, but there you have to prepay to go a certain distance on the tube, right? So we exchanged just enough of our euros to pounds so that we could get from Heathrow to Hammersmith and then back to the airport. And so we get on this tube with our carry-on bags, and people are asking us if where we're from, and we're chatting with them, and we get to talking with this one person, and we said, oh yeah, we're going to Hammersmith. And she's like, no, 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 you have enough time you can go a little further, and I honestly don't even remember where they told us to go, but it sounded fantastic. So we're like, oh yeah, you really think so? Yeah, yeah. You'll get to see so much more there, and you'll have plenty of time. Okay, so we did. So we instead of going and getting off at Hammersmith, we went to this other stop, and we got off the tube and up above ground again, and we were so thrilled we saw one of those iconic red phone booths. We took a picture with it, like nerdy tourists, and we get back in the tube, and it's time to go back to the airport so that we can make our flight. And so then we hadn't thought this through because then when we were trying to get through the barriers with our pass to get back on the tube, the barriers wouldn't open for us because we didn't have enough money to go as far as we had and return. And so and we had no more we couldn't find a place to exchange. We had no more money and we were stuck and if we didn't get back, we were going to miss our flight. So we managed to bust through those things. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any kind of underground train system or subway system, but in London, at least at the time, they have these like barriers that when you're allowed to go through, they swing open and let you pass, and then they shut between people. And so we had to bust through this thing, and it set off some kind of obnoxious sound. And so we're running, and we just managed. The tube's there, the doors are open, so we bust through this thing, and we get on, and we made it. Like we made it through without getting caught, without getting in trouble. And so we're riding the tube back to Heathrow, and we get back to the airport, and we've got our carry-on bags, and we're hustling. We're like, so, out of breath, and we had the greatest time, but now we're worried because if we don't catch our flights, we're gonna be stuck, and we didn't plan on that. So we get to the airport, and we're walking, and we're heading toward our gate, and then we're not nearly there at all when we hear, the final boarding call come over the intercom. They're calling the final boarding for our flight to Chicago O'Hare Airport. And so we're hustling and hustling, and we made it back just in time. They saw us onto the plane and closed the doors immediately behind us, and we had to take our seats. And so we did make it back. But now we have this adventurous story about the time that we almost got stuck in London with no money. And um, and so I think about all of these kinds of adventurous journeys that, I wonder if kids are still having today and what it's like now. We didn't, I don't know that, I think maybe we had cell phones at the time, but they definitely were not smartphones. And it's just one of those things that I stop and think about sometimes about how different everything is now for kids these days. But that was a really fun adventure. And um, at the time, it was very intense and suspenseful, but I'm glad that it happened exactly as it did because it turns out to be a really great story and a good memory for me with my friend. And actually, I have not been to London since then, and I need to go back. And my family, we've been talking about planning a trip overseas. Um, yeah, that was the only time that I've been overseas. I haven't been out of the country otherwise in a while as well. But my husband and I would like to take our kids overseas. And so we're discussing places to go. And I always want to go everywhere. So it's very tempting. I want to go to Japan and I want to go to Ireland and Scotland and Greece and I don't know, just about everywhere. So how do you do that? How do you decide out of all these places where it is that you want to go, especially if you know you want to see everything, but obviously that's just not possible, right? But if you have suggestions for me, you can comment them and let me know where you would go if it were you and your family and what you would do there. And I will read through that and appreciate that very much and take it into consideration when we decide where we're going to go. Okay, so back to the drawing right now. I have the basic shapes laid out fairly well. I'm feeling pretty good about where everything is. I'm a little unsure of the spacing right here, but we're gonna figure that out as we go. And so now I'm ready to kind of get started defining this face a bit more. And I don't know if the person who sent me this photo is able to watch today or is watching, but I'm wondering if this person is yet recognizing the drawing. And so if it's you and you're here, let me know. And I'm just gonna keep on going in the meantime. And so I've got the face worked out, and what's funny is sometimes, I begin with the eyes because eyes are my favorite thing to draw, and then sometimes I have everything else going on first. I would say in general, it's my preference to start with the eyes, but for whatever reason, that's not happening here, and that's okay. So this ebony pencil is lighter than this charcoal, and I had planned to mostly use the pencil, but I'm actually just going to switch to charcoal because otherwise I'm not going to be able to see the darks that I need to see as I'm working. So for some of this, it's going to just be a charcoal drawing now, which is totally fine. This drawing things live has zero to do with perfection and everything to do with seeing what is actually going to happen. So I hope you guys have a little bit of the adventurous spirit in you that I have as well. Um, it's definitely not as adventurous as possibly getting stuck in a foreign country without much funds, but as far as drawing goes, I guess this might be as adventurous as we get today. Okay. I am curious if comments are still working. So if you are watching, would you just shoot me a comment? Maybe let me know what state you're watching from. And also let me know if you can hear me okay. Might take a minute to interrupt myself and just double check things because I'm not sure with this software how to. It's not as it's not the same as when I'm streaming directly from YouTube and I can see everything in one screen. So, okay, let me stop real quick right there and just double check that everything's coming through. Okay, we've got it. Looks good. Thanks, Becky. Becky from Sarasota. Thank you. Also, I should also tell you guys that one thing I noticed. So I'm still learning YouTube and figuring out like what happens when I do stuff live. After the live recording is over, YouTube saves a copy and then I have to publish it, but it removes all of the original comments. And um, so if you are not watching this live, if you're watching it later and you hear me say something like, "Hey, Becky from Sarasota," it's because at the time of the live drawing, Becky from Sarasota said hello in the actual comments. So that's I realized the last week when I recorded and then published that there were some things that I said in it and people that I were talking to, but in watching the recording, it looks like I'm just making things up on the fly and talking completely to myself. So just putting that out there. Okay. So we're getting started with the eyes, and everything's really dark, and that's because I still have a lot of lightening up to do as far as the highlights go to get some of those highlights and midtones back. But I'm feeling really good about what's happening right now, and so for the for the minute, I'm gonna keep rolling with the charcoal, and then I'm gonna probably bounce back to my super skinny eraser to get into some of these nooks and crannies and lighten things up. And we've got some darker shadows up here too. There we go. Okay. And kind of get back down here to the nose. This is the spot where I wasn't sure if there was enough, if I had left enough room for the nose and the full mouth. But now that I'm here, I think it's going to be okay. So we'll just lay that in a bit and see if that's true. I learned a lot of things since last week's live. One of them was the situation with the camera. And the other thing that I learned is that if I tilt my drawing table up, which I did, and have my reference photo on a separate stand, that I can have an upright reference photo, which makes my drawing much better. So here's a tip for those of you aspiring artists out there. When you're drawing, if you can have an easel to draw on or tip your artwork up a bit and also have your reference photo up and down rather than flat, you will have more accurate perspective and it will make your drawing look more true to life. So there's your tip for the day. Oh, hey, Melissa, thank you. Yay, I'm so glad you're here too. And I'm glad that everything seems to be working. So that's super good. I was determined, you guys, to find the right technology without completely going broke in the process. I knew there must be some way to stream from two camera sources live. And also last week, YouTube was forcing me to live stream in a vertical presentation, and I wanted it to be horizontal, and I figured that out too. So I'm feeling a bit proud of myself and my technological research for today. So, all right. So this little eraser is the lifesaver. I shared this in last week's video too. This is by Tombow. It's called a Mono Zero. Try to get that in here. I don't. This is a little funky. So if you like to draw and you don't have one of these and you want to try this method of starting with a dark shaded piece and going lighter, this could become one of your new best friends. And I would highly recommend that you grab one. I have had this for so long that I don't even remember where I got it, but I am sure that you can find it on Amazon. And if you don't find it on Amazon, tell me because I'll be absolutely baffled. And then it will become like a side mission for me to figure out where to get one of these things these days. Okay, so I'm correcting a little bit of the shape of her eyelid here. Now, last week I was drawing a celebrity, so it was like anyone's guess who I was drawing. And now this week, you guys, some of you, most of you don't probably know who this even is. And so you won't know if it's resembling her or not. But I hope you still enjoy the process of just watching the drawing come together. And then at the end, I will show you the actual reference photo so you can judge for yourself if you think it looks like the actual photo and if it resembles her in real life. Or, well, I guess not real life, but in her picture. Okay, this is one of those little blending sticks, a little nub. You can get these at any kind of art store, Michael's, Joann, probably Hobby Lobby, or also Amazon, and that will help soften any harsh marks and blend things together. So when I made really dark charcoal marks and I want to soften those shadows, that's where that comes in handy. And it's just made out of paper, so it can unwrap to reveal clean layers beneath. Okay, I'm gonna come in here and work on this edge of the nose a little bit, but first I'm checking the angle of this little laugh line and it seems off to me, so I'm gonna correct that and see how that looks. Okay, that's a little better. I'm gonna go here. I should have grabbed myself a charcoal pencil instead of just using this stick, but it's at least sharp enough that I can still get these fine lines in here. So I'm gonna roll with it for today. There we go. And then we've got smiles. So I was telling you guys she has a fantastic smile. And I'm getting to that point where I'm gonna have to start those teeth soon. And I don't know. It's gonna be challenging, but I'm gonna face it with as much confidence as I can. There we go. Let's get a little more highlights here in the nose. Now the eyes are still quite dark, but I don't wanna get stuck on any one area of the drawing. So I'm going to you might notice that I kind of move around. So I'll work in one spot and I'll kind of flesh things out there, and then I will move on. And I think, I prefer that because it helps me keep things in check throughout the entire drawing, and then I'm not just focusing on one tiny area and getting to the point where I'm like, "Oh no, the whole thing needs to be changed now that I'm doing this other part." So, if that makes any sense, I find it helpful to go through different parts of the drawing throughout the process. Okay, add some here. How's the sound, by the way, guys? I am using AirPods to talk to you because I was worried since I'm using 2 camera sources that it would provide feedback, if I had the speakers and the microphone going from either my phone or the computer, so I hope the AirPods was a good solution to that, and I find the quality to be pretty crisp most of the time when I'm using them to record video, so hopefully that's the case today as well. One thing I have not figured out is how to use the zoom feature on my camera while it's recording like this, because I would have liked to give you a little bit more of a close-up view of the drawing, but at least you can see everything, and it looks like it's coming across clear. Okay, Becky says everything sounds great, so that's awesome. Thank you, I'm happy to hear that. I'm kind of laughing to myself because I have a really nice camera that takes video, and I have a really nice microphone for recording sound, and I can figure out neither one for live streaming with 2 sources. So, that's okay. I'll save those for my pre-recorded videos another day, which is what I usually use. Alright, the eyes are looking good so far. Everything's coming together and feeling like it's in the right spot. Details are becoming clearer. I feel like I can put off the teeth not much longer. So let's just go for it, shall we? All right. Um, we have a little highlight still up here in this top lip. I want to get that in there before, because the white of the teeth is probably looking like the whitest part of the entire image. And I am gonna just go ahead and start drawing the teeth in with the eraser a little bit, but it's bright already down here, and so I will be pulling that pencil in. Um, I've got a really sharp pencil for this, and one tip I can get in my experience with teeth is that rather than actually drawing the teeth, it's more just recognizing the separations between them. And so I look for where the gum kind of comes in between the teeth, and I start with that. And that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna start with that. And there's a phrase that's like, I think I learned this from I heard this from Jed Dorsey, who's a Canadian artist, but he said that somebody else he'd heard it from. So I don't even know who originally said this, but there was some artist that said, "Don't insult to your viewer," and that just means like sometimes artists can get carried away with so much detail and providing so much information in the drawing that we forget that people are really good at making sense of things and putting like filling in the gaps and putting things together. And so when it comes to something like teeth, I think if we hint enough of what's there, we don't need to go overboard and provide too much. I think too much actually ends up ruining things. And so I'm starting to hint at the teeth there. And, the other important thing with teeth is you want them to be an accurate size and you want to make sure you have the right number of teeth. And so I am constantly checking like how the gum lines up with parts of the nose. So like the middle of the teeth lines up with the center of the nose. And then this tooth ends right around this point of where the nostril begins over there. So I can line these up, and that's helping me figure out the size of these teeth in proportion with the rest of her. And the way she's smiling, I can see only her top teeth. And so I'm making sure that they are the right height in comparison to her lips too. And things are feeling like they're going well. So just gonna keep going. And then if anything ends up needing to be fixed, it can. Now this tooth is seeming like it should be in line with the edge of this nostril. And then when I compare that to the eye, that is also true. These things kind of create a line here. So this nostril needs to come down a little bit. And so I will mark that in here for a minute and come back and adjust that once I finish getting some more of these teeth into position here. And then we have some teeth coming around the back of the mouth. We can see a little bit. And there's some shadow back here after these teeth that I want to get nice and dark. And her mouth is going further. So I do have to adjust a little bit more there too. This smile line needs to come out. So I need to widen some of this here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna kind of get rid of what's there for now so it doesn't throw me off. And I'm going to draw in the correct amount in her mouth. There we go. I think that's looking better. And now I need my charcoal again because this shadow here is extremely dark and I can't get it dark enough with my ebony pencil. So I'm going to bring that shadow in with the charcoal. Okay. I don't want to do too much with the dark there, so we're going to kind of blend that in there a little bit. All right. So we have the hinting at teeth going on, and we have the shape of the lips. We have some darker shadows and some highlights that will be coming in. And I also see some dark areas in the corner over here too that I want to bring in. And I lost track of the time too, so I don't even know if we are past the half hour or not yet. What time do we have? Okay. Yeah, we're a bit past the half hour. But it's going well and I'm almost finished, so I'm just gonna keep going. So we're gonna bring this smile line past the mouth again and put it back in there. And I also think that this cheek needs to be wider right down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this eraser back in and we're gonna just make that adjustment. It's not much, but it will make a difference if I put it in. So let's add that in there. Okay, there. I am happy with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that line back here. There's some shadow right there, and I'm gonna smooth back here. Okay. Now, let's go back. This nose, let's add some highlights in to widen that nose a little bit. And then this part is gonna go with it. Okay. Just a few small details left here. There. Now we've got some highlights in the lips. And if I wanted to make some super bright highlights, um, with my eraser that's not gonna erase crazy bright white anymore that I've toned the whole paper, I would be okay with bringing in some white charcoal to do that, but I'm gonna just, for the purposes of this today, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the eraser and leave it at that. I'm going to come in with some more of the highlights that got they basically disappeared with the charcoal, and then I'm going to show you the reference photo so you can see and compare, and you can decide for yourself how I did. See if tell me what you think of the drawing and if you think it looks like her. And so I'm going to switch over. This is another eraser pen. I don't know who makes this one, but it's a little wider, and so I'm going to use that for some of these bigger areas here. The light's coming in from more of that side. Oh, also, we have the ear over here that I kind of blocked in, but I didn't do any detailing to at all. So we can kind of hint at the ear with a little bit of line. Some detailing in here. Okay, and then she has her hair pulled back, but she's wearing a hat, and so back here there's some of the hat that wraps around and some of her hair. So we'll show a couple strands of hair in here, and there's a few pieces on the other side coming out of the hat a little bit. And it looks like she's got a ponytail back there. And then she's wearing a dark collared shirt. And so this part will be the shirt. We're gonna let that go off the page. All right, so now there's just some tiny fine little details, but overall I'm really happy with the drawing. And because we're running up the clock here, I'm just simply gonna add the shapes of this hat and the shadow up here. It's a black hat, and so there's not a lot that needs to be done, but I want to hint at it that it's there and that it is dark. And what I would do now from here is just continue to lighten the lights, and I want to give a little more shape to her eye. She has light eyes. And so I'm gonna go ahead and lighten those around the pupil and then add in some more of the line just to define the eyes a little bit around them. All right, that's the bulk of the drawing right there. So now to finish this drawing, I am gonna push some more of those lights, but I'm gonna go ahead and just show you the reference photo. Are you ready? So we have the drawing and the photo. Ta-da! So we would just go in and lighten the the light spots up a little more. And make it a little less dirty because I did get it pretty smudgy. So there it is. Thank you for watching today, guys. Thanks for watching with me. If you have a picture you would like to see me draw, whether it's of you, someone you love, your favorite celebrity, anything, send it to me. And out of all of the photos that are submitted, I would choose one to do every Monday. And so next week, it might be you. See you guys.